you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Moore
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to another edition of the Eye Test. I'm Pierre McGuire. Jimmy Murphy's not here right now, but he will be here soon. What an amazing night last night, a celebration of hockey that was phenomenal in Toronto at the Hockey Hall of Fame. I had so much fun being there, and congratulations to Duncan Keith, to Joe Thornton, to Alexander McGillney, to Jen Botterill, to Jackie Parker, to Brianna Decker, and Zdeno Chara. I thought it was fantastic. Duncan Keith's speech, if you haven't seen it, get a chance to look at it. It was phenomenal. I think the biggest thing what Dunk did was he illustrated the passion that you have to be a great player. He illustrated his leadership qualities, and he illustrated the brotherhood that was back then the Chicago Blackhawks. I thought it was just one of those tour de force speeches that everybody loves to be around and to listen to. And I thought it was so appropriate that the night ended with Joe Thornton giving, I thought, just thoughtful remarks, phenomenal remarks. And it was awesome. What an amazing honor and privilege it was to be there last night, but also to have the opportunity to talk with Joe Thornton and his parents afterwards. I was blown away. Just to see the sheer delight in the fact that he was now in the Hockey Hall of Fame was phenomenal. It meant a lot to me, and I really enjoyed being there to see it all. Jimmy will be here shortly, and we have an amazing guest coming on, Mark Spector. Yesterday, if you remember, if you were watching, Jimmy and I were talking about the Edmonton Oilers and how they were a team that was kind of losing their way. And I can tell you right now, they were very fortunate to win last night against the Columbus Blue Jackets, who gave up a shorthanded goal in the last minute of the game. Even though they could have killed the clock, they choose not to kill the clock. And it'll be interesting to hear what Mark Spector has to say about the Edmonton Oilers and about their group. There are 9 games on the National Hockey League schedule tonight, with Toronto playing at Boston, Los Angeles at Montreal. It was one of those games that I'll be paying close attention to. Dallas is at Ottawa. I'll be watching that pretty closely as well. Washington's at Carolina. Carolina is really starting to get hot. Calgary at St. Louis. The 2 worst teams in the Western Conference are playing one another. Something's going to give there. Big night for San Jose. If they can go into Minnesota and squeeze some points out of that. Anaheim and Colorado. If the season started today, not a chance of that happening, but obviously it's got a chance to happen with how well Colorado's playing, and just an amazing story that Joel Quenneville and Pat Verbeek and everybody in Anaheim is writing about the Ducks. Winnipeg's at Vancouver. Winnipeg's got to wake up here on this trip. It has not been very friendly for them. Maybe the Vancouver Canucks, the undermanned Vancouver Canucks, maybe that's the perfect tonic for Winnipeg. We'll see. And finally, Columbus is at Seattle. What an awful road trip this has been for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Last night was a case in point where they snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory. It was unbelievable, surreal to actually watch it take place and transpire. And I can't wait to hear what Mark Spector has to say about that. So much going on in the National Hockey League. And that's one of the cool parts about being at the Hockey Hall of Fame, is that you run into all the movers and shakers. There were a lot of general managers there. There were a lot of former coaches there. There were a lot of former players there. It was great to see guys like Patrick Sharp and Brent Seabrook there to really go in and salute Duncan Keith. And, you think about it. Seabrook was part of the Olympic team in 2010. He's played World Junior for Canada. He was, a teammate not only of Duncan Keith's, he was also a teammate of Joe Thornton's in the Olympics. What I found was really cool, and Duncan brought this up last night, and what a stat that I was not even aware of, is that Brent Seabrook and Duncan Keith played over 1,000 games together as a partnership. That's the longest partnership since they've been keeping those stats in the history of the National Hockey League. I had no idea about that. And I thought it was phenomenal because I just remember I did so many Chicago Blackhawk games from 2009 until, probably 2018, when they became really irrelevant for a long time after the 2017-2018 season. They were always together. Keith and and Seabrook were always together, a lot like Taves and Kane were always together. And that brotherhood that I was speaking of, Patrick Sharp was a big part of that. Corey Crawford was there as well. Corey Crawford looked phenomenal. He looked like he could still play. I was really impressed by all the guys from Chicago showing up last night, and I was really impressed with a lot of the former Shark players that showed up last night too. I had a great visit with Ryan Clough and his wife. Ryan's now the assistant general manager of the New York Rangers, working for Chris Drury there. But I was really impressed the fact that a lot of San Jose Shark guys showed up for Joe, and namely Patrick Marleau, who's still not in the Hall of Fame. And I know there's some people that are pushing for him. We'll see how that plays out in this coming year's class. But yeah, no, it was really fun. It was great to be at the Hall, and food was great. Huge crowd. Tons of people really having a good time with it. And I thought all the inductees' presentations were really solid. I just think Duncan Keith and Joe really separated themselves from the rest of the crew. It was neat to see Lou Lamoriello there, giving acknowledgement to Jack Parker. They had coached together, or against each other, excuse me, for a very long time. They had been fierce, bitter rivals for a very long time. Lou left Providence in 1987 to go to the New Jersey Devils. Jackie had many opportunities, and I mean many opportunities, to go to the National Hockey League and be a coach, and he chose not to do it. So there was a lot going on there last night, behind the scenes, that I was really impressed by, just to see all these former bitter rivals getting along and talking and being really good about things. I thought it was really appropriate. I'm in Montreal right now. Jimmy is in Boston somewhere. I took the train really early this morning. I took the 6:32 train from Toronto to Montreal. Spending some time here with my mom. I wanted to be around Montreal too, to get the beat and the vibe of the Montreal Canadiens. And then later this week, I'll be going down the 401 just a little bit to Cornwall, Ontario, crossing the border there, and going to St. Lawrence University to be part of the celebration of life for the late Ray Shero, and then to watch his induction into the St. Lawrence Athletic Hall of Fame. They call it Legends of Appleton, and he will become a legend of Appleton. And I would encourage, and I know we have a lot of cross-border listeners, both on the Canadian and the American side, but I'd encourage anybody that's around the Canton, New York area. So if you're from Brockville, east to Cornwall, or if you're even, an alum of St. Lawrence, to get down there this weekend. They play Dartmouth and they play Harvard. There's a huge celebration of Ray's life on Friday, and then the induction is later on Friday afternoon, I believe. And then Sunday or Saturday, there's an alumni game. Bob McKenzie and I were part of a draft coverage where they did the draft coverage online for the St. Lawrence alumni. And so they're going to have a really spirited alumni hockey game. One of the guys that's going to be there is Rich Peverly, longtime NHLer and currently working for the Dallas Stars. Rich has had an amazing career in hockey, and it's great to see him doing so well. I see him in a lot of St. Lawrence games every year, and he looks fantastic. He looks like he'd still play, and he'll have that opportunity to play on Saturday with all the rest of the St. Lawrence alumni. So I'm looking forward to that, and getting down there, and then it's back to NHL hockey and the grind on Saturday night. But lots going on in the game. I mean, you got to wonder about some teams in the league right now. You got to wonder about what's going to happen in Nashville. Whether I saw Barry Trotz last night at the Hockey Hall of Fame, whether they're going to start getting proactive and moving people. You got to think about the St. Louis Blues and what they're going to do. That's a huge game tonight between Calgary and St. Louis. What's Calgary going to do? Craig Conroy, the former Clarkson Golden Knight, what's he going to do with his team now? So I think, especially in the West, there's a lot of stuff going on. You could hear a lot of names being brought up last night. I don't know if a lot of that was being put out there to try to create some interest or some buzz, but yeah, there's going to be a lot going on, I think, in the National Hockey League over the next little while. And you can also see, too, there's a lot of tension in Toronto with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've got to get going. Tonight's an amazing opportunity for them to get going here in Boston. I thought they had very much a lost weekend. I didn't like their puck management. I didn't like their defensive play. I didn't like their physicality. John Tavares has been their most consistent player all year. He needs help. Losing Scott Lawton on a huge hit from Nikita Zadorov. Clean hit, by the way. No future or further penalty to Zadorov. He'll be playing tonight. But they got a lot to answer to in Toronto right now. They are really underperforming, so that's interesting. The Rangers get a win, but I don't think that they're really happy with the start to their year, especially on home ice. They're 1-7-1, I think, on home ice, or 1-7-0 on home ice, if I remember correctly. So they got a lot of work to do there. It's a trying time for a lot of these teams, and I don't know what's going to happen with a lot of these coaches, but they're better. If you're an owner out there and you watch this, and I do know some owners watch this show, you better not be firing your coach now. I think the GMs need to be held accountable here. We had a free for all on coaches for a very long time. It's not the coaches if it keeps happening time and time and time again with different coaches being in place and the product's still not working. So at some point here, the owners have to start looking at the people making the decisions in terms of player procurement, and we'll find out. We'll find out how it works out long term going forward. I can tell you right now, one of the big things that came out of the Hockey Hall of Fame too, I think, is what's the class going to look like next year? That was what a lot of people were really wondering, and part of why that was people that were there for different players, but one in particular was Patrice Bergeron, being there for Joe Thornton and obviously for Zdeno Chara. He knew both those guys, and it was interesting to see. Patrice looked phenomenal, by the way, and he carried himself. He reminds me of Jean Beliveau so much. I had the honor and privilege of getting to know Mr. Beliveau over the course of my life when I was especially starting out in the league. And one of the things that I thought was really cool, I did some commercials with him later on in his life when I was at TSN in Canada, and he was always such a gentleman to everybody, whether you were a person working on the set of the commercial or whether you were a person that was writing the commercial, or whomever you were working with him. He was just an amazing gentleman. And last night I was spending time with Patrice, and it reminded me so much of spending time with Jean Beliveau, just the way he carries himself, the way he talks to people, the way he makes eye contact with people, the way he shakes your hand. It's just a phenomenal thing. So I was really impressed by that. And I love seeing players put themselves out there. And he put himself out there last night. And I thought it was really well handled by him, by the media, and by the fans that were there. And by the way, if you've never had the opportunity to go to a Hall of Fame induction, I would encourage everybody, if you have the chance to do it. The players reach out. The hospitality from the Hall, especially from Kelly Massey, is phenomenal. Jamie Dinsmore is the new CEO of the Hockey Hall of Fame. He was fantastic. He was omnipresent last night. I thought it was really good. James Duthie did a great job as a host. He's always so good at it, and I thought James was fantastic. And the fans they got everything they could have wanted and more, just because the players reached out phenomenally well, really, really well. So last night was great. The travel here was good. I did a lot of research on different players on the train ride over, which I thought was interesting. I can't believe how much snow has fallen up in the corridor between Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal. There's pretty significant snow now. And so if you live in those areas, I can understand. Be careful driving, especially after work tonight. It's dicey out there right now. And so I look out my mother's window in downtown Montreal. So lots of good stuff happening. Just waiting for Jimmy to come on. And you know what, Shane, if we could, let's take a bit of a break here. And I'd like to read some of the sponsors' products, if you can put it up there. I don't know if I have them right now. Usually that's Jimmy's job. So if you could put that up there, Shane, it would be great. And I'll read actually, you know what? Mark Spector's here. Let's get Mark Spector on, Shane. That'd be good.
Hey,
Mark
what's
Spector,
going-
how you doing, my man?
All right, Pierre, what's happening, brother?
All is good. I apologize. You know what? I'm not used to hosting, so I didn't even know you were in the queue. I would have got to you sooner. I apologize for that.
That's okay. Let's do it.
Let's do it as right. What's going on with your favorite team in Alberta?
Whoa, stop right there, buddy. They're not my favorite team.
You know I'm joking with you.
I cover them, but they're not my favorite
you
team.
cover them. I'm aware. What's going on? What's going on with those guys?
It's hard to know. I mean, I just watched our good friend Craig Button on TSN last night tell me that this team they don't have what it takes. They're not a very good team. They're nowhere close to what they were last year. They're not a Stanley Cup contender. And I'm not telling you he's wrong, but I am telling you that at this time last year and the year before, I heard the exact same thing, right? I heard 2 years ago when they were firing Jay Woodcroft after
Yeah.
about 50 games, I heard that this team didn't have a chance, and they went to the Stanley Cup and lost in Game 7. And then last year, I heard again, and I wrote some of it, that, you know what, they're not as good. Their chemistry is no good. They've lost a guy here. This isn't right. And they went to the Stanley Cup final and lost in Game 6, and they rolled through the West like a hot knife through butter. So I don't love them right now. I don't think they love themselves. They're not a great-looking team. They're missing some stuff. But I'm a little wary to say that they're not a Stanley Cup contender because they have been to 2 cups in a row.
So let me throw 2 names at you and get your take on it. Darnell Nurse and Evan Bouchard. Are those guys having good years in your mind, or are they just struggling?
No, they're totally struggling. So, I mean, but that's part of it. That, listen, they are struggling. Evan Bouchard has been awful this year. Darnell Nurse has been a little bit better than that, not much. And they're like 2 points out of first place in their division. So that's where I'm getting at, I think, is no one's saying they like this team right now. No one likes their game. They had no business getting even a point last night against Columbus, and they got 2. But I guess I'd say to you, Pierre, when you're playing this bad and you're still right in the thick of it, what's going to happen if you start playing good, right?
Fair point. No, that's a fair point. The other thing I want to ask you about is, they're all saying when Zach Hyman comes back, everything changes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Hey, listen, I've seen a lot of guys come back in, mid-November, and it takes a while. Like, he's a huge part of the team. He's their first line right winger, and he's McDavid's go-to guy. So that's a giant guy in your team. Like, he's a really important player. He's your down low guy on the best power play in the league over the last 5 years. So, that's like taking a wheel off the car and wondering why the car's not running so good. So that is, it's not an excuse. It's one of the reasons why they haven't been very good is they're missing that really important player. But if you think he's just going to strap on skates for the first game and they're going to just snap their fingers and be awesome, it's going to take some time, right? It's going to take some time. And I think the job of this team is to stay around the race and stay around the top of the Pacific and be close. Well, guys like Hyman get healthy and Kapanen get healthy and Janmark get healthy and Bowman gets to work. He's got a few things he's got to get done here, Stan Bowman. And they have to survive while he gets his work done, right?
Is there one thing in particular, Mark, because I know how keen an observer you are, is there one thing in particular they have to do as a management team to make the team better?
Well, their depth guys, 2 things they got to do. I mean, their defense is their defense. If their players don't play well, they're not changing them out. They're not moving Nurse and Bouchard, right? I'm here to tell you, any team in the National Hockey League, if 2 of your top 4 defensemen spend the whole year being awful, you don't win. You don't win. You pay them to be your best guys. So I'm going to assume that, like in years past, those guys will become their best guys. The defense is okay. Goaltending needs help, right? Stu Skinner can't play in a tandem with a guy like Calvin Pickard. Calvin Pickard plays with guys like Vasilevsky, Demko, Hellebuck, Sorokin, Shesterkin, right? Those guys can have Cal Pickard as their backup. He's an awesome backup for a for sure number 1. Stu Skinner's not a for sure number 1. He needs a tandem of another guy that's about as good as he is. So they got to figure that out. They got to go out and find this year's Mackenzie Blackwood or whoever that's going to be. So that's job A.
That's such a good take. That's
right?
Such a good take. That's so spot on.
Right.
But it shows you if
they need
if
another
you're late
goal.
to the party, if you're late to the party, you have a problem. They were
Yeah.
late to the party on this.
Well, I guess they were. Like, listen, you had a young guy that's taking you to 2 cups. You kind of hope he's going to take a step at age 27. That's not out of the realm of possibility. He's 26, I think, Skinner. He's walking into his prime. You kind of hope he'd take a step forward. Well, guess what? He ain't taking that step.
Who surprised you the most out west?
Well, probably Anaheim, I'd say. What a fun team they are. And they're in Denver tonight. And I was just looking at my list. I'm in a position to watch some hockey tonight. And I'll tell you what, that's a game I'm watching. They're a fun team. They got good young players. And they're breathing up like out here where I live in the Pacific, Vegas, Edmonton, LA, they've been running the show out here for a few years. Well, here comes Anaheim, man. They're going to barge in there, and they're going to start to take points away from everybody. So
You know what? I bet you, Mark, there are a lot of general managers in the league, though, kicking themselves for not hiring Joel Quenneville.
well, sure. I mean, that's fair. I don't think you've been allowed to hire him until until finally, I think the minute he was eligible for hiring, Anaheim snapped him up very wisely. I'm not sure he was hanging around getting turned down by a bunch of teams. Was he, Pierre?
There were a few. There were a few that wouldn't talk with him. There were a few. I think he's one of the best free agent acquisitions of the summer.
Hey, he's a great coach. We all know that. Take the other stuff and figure it out for yourself and wherever you stand on it. But in terms of Joel Quenneville as a hockey coach and a hockey man, he's a fantastic coach. And I'll say this to you, Stan Bowman's an excellent GM. He's got some work to do in my town, but I think he's an excellent GM. And he's come back, and so far he's done a pretty good job.
I think he has too. I don't think this is a reflection on Stan, by the way. Here's my biggest question for you, because I love how honest you are. I always have admired that about you. What happens if Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl aren't part of the Edmonton Oilers?
Well, I mean, what do you mean? Draisaitl just signed.
Let's just no. I know. No, I'm talking about hypothetically. Like, where would that team be realistically if those two guys weren't there?
It would make playoffs, or they'd be an 8th place team. But I guess I'd say to you, what if oh my goodness, what if Suzuki and Caulfield didn't play for Montreal?
Yeah, they would not be a play. They would not. I can tell you right now, they would not be a playoff team. They would not be.
Crosby and Malkin weren't in Pittsburgh all those years. Would they have a cup? No, probably.
They wouldn't have a cup.
Right. So I mean,
I just look at look at their team. It's so heavily slanted towards those two guys, though. Like, I was always and I'm a huge fan of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, but did he ever get to the threshold where he said, you know what, he should have been first overall?
Well, I don't know, Pierre. Like, having sitting in a town like this where they've had some first overalls come in all kinds of packages here, right?
Yes,
one
they do.
Connor McDavid, one of them's Nail Yakupov, one of them's, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is
Patrick Stefan,
Alexander Daig. So, I guess I want to say to you that I go back and look at that draft year. Gabe Landeskog was in that draft year. He's an awfully good player too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, if I had that draft to do again, and you told me I was going to draft a guy that plays power play, shorthanded, is going to play 1,000 games, gets you 25 goals and 70 points a year, I'm not sure I mind that pick that much.
No, I'm just asking because you know what? I always thought the Nuge was a really good player, and I just don't know if he ever took that extra step that I was expecting to take.
Fair. That's fair. I mean, he's never going to knock your socks off, but every coach he ever played for loves him. So
yeah, no, he's a coach's player. He's not a fans player. I think he's a coach's player. Coaches like players like that.
He doesn't carry your team. There's no question that. But not all first round picks carry your team, man.
No, that's fair. Chris Pronger did though. We had a pretty good one in Pronger.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Ottawa should have had him. They picked Daig instead of Pronger. Imagine that pick.
Did you have any take on the Hockey Hall of Fame last night?
Just this is one of the years where there just is no controversy. Those the people that went in to a man and woman are absolute. I didn't hear a peep. Are you going to tell me Duncan Keith shouldn't be in the Hall? I mean, give me a break, Morton. So no, I think, and now that Mogilny for years was the one that a lot of people said, how is this guy not in? Well, he's in now. So we're going to have to find another guy that gets, that gets short shift, because Mogilny's in, and that class last night, I can't complain about a single person for even a second.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I thought the way Joe Thornton's speech was awesome, Mark. I don't know how much of it you had a chance to see, but I thought his was great. And Dunk blew me away. I've known Duncan a long time, real long time. And I'd never seen him speak with so much passion as he did last night. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was just so good.
He's always been a pretty quiet cat too. Like
Yes.
he's not a verbose human being. I always thought
No.
in tandem, Brent Seabrook probably did most of the talking.
Oh, there's the iconic shot in the playoffs, Detroit versus Chicago, and Taves takes a penalty.
Yep.
And I was doing the game, and I told my producer at the time, Matt Martin, I said, you better have a camera on the penalty box because Seabrook's going over there. Taves is losing his mind. And I think when it's all said and done, the quiet, unsung hero of all those Chicago teams is Brent Seabrook.
Yeah.
It's to your point. I really believe that. And
Yep.
he and Keith had, I didn't know that. You know what, Mark? I didn't put two and two together. I wonder if you even knew this, and you're so thorough on it, that Keith and Seabrook together played 1,000 games as a tandem. I had no idea. I had no idea.
Speaking of drafts, like who drafts two guys that close to each other that fit hand and glove like those two? I mean,
Amazing.
in my career, that's become sort of the metaphor. Like, let's say if I talk about, you know, when Ekholm is playing real well here and Bouchard's playing real well here, I would describe Ekholm as the Seabrook to Keith. You know, like Seabrook was the perfect guy for Keith, right? He was the Huddy to the coffee. Like he was the they played together forever because they were perfect for each other. You know,
Yeah. No, it's really
good portion of the Chicago Blackhawks. They end up with two guys who are like a tongue and groove, man. Those two guys were perfect for each other.
totally. I couldn't agree more. Let's go a little bit further south from you. What's the whiplash effect going on in Calgary right now? What's going to go down there?
I don't know. You know, they've got an owner in Calgary that refuses to rebuild. And he's always been that guy. Murray Edwards is a guy that refuses to rebuild. And as such, since 1989, that team has been in the mushy middle, but, you know, they're a 7th to 9th team almost every year. And they never draft high. And other than one kind of semi-fluke run in 04 to the Cup final, they never get that. They don't win much. So I don't know. This year they might get force-fed a rebuild, Pierre. This might be the year when the hockey gods say, I don't care what your plan is. You're going to get so close to, you know, being a bottom 5 team. You might as well try for it. I'm going to say this. We all know that Rasmus Andersson was going to get traded at some point this year on defense. But when they went into the season, the Calgary Flames had said, I talked to someone there who said, we are not trading Nazem Kadri. We're keeping Nazem Kadri. Well, the lower they go, I think the more Nazem Kadri's name might come into effect. They might say, you know what? At the deadline, we could get so much youth and good players and draft picks for him. What are we doing hang on to this player when we're the 29th best team in the NHL?
His name is out there a lot. Nazem Kadri. It's out there a lot. Rasmus Andersson's name is out there a lot. It is. You know what I'm surprised his name is not out there? It's Michael Backlund. Michael Backlund's name is not out there at all.
Yeah, I think he's pretty much a lifetime Flame. I always said of Michael Backlund, if he's my third line center, I got a good team. You know,
we agree.
I think you could win a cup with Michael Backlund in your 3-hole. And I'd love to see him go somewhere in that exact role, but let's see.
You know, it's interesting. I want to acknowledge this. You brought up the 04 Calgary Flames. Nobody even talks about it anymore. The Mika Kiprusoff that we saw in the 2004 playoff. Mark, it was unbelievable how good he was.
Oh, he was, you know, and it's never played on a very good team in Calgary, right?
No.
Now, that was really like he could have, you know, he almost won that cup when they went to Game 7. He's a guy you could have built. You know, if the team in my town right now had a Mika Kiprusoff, they'd have at least one cup, if not 2.
I think they'd have one. Yeah, I agree. They have one for sure.
That's how good he was, and underappreciated because Calgary is Calgary's not what I would call a prominent NHL market, and they weren't a very good team. So a lot of people don't know how good Mika Kiprusoff was. My goodness, he's one of the best goalies I've ever seen.
So we agree on that. Like I've said that to so many different hockey decision makers. I've said exactly almost what you said, word for word. If Calgary or if Edmonton ever had Mika Kiprusoff or somebody, some facsimile of that, they would have won a Stanley Cup.
Oh,
and
for sure.
And maybe more. It's amazing. It really is amazing. What's your take on Dallas right now?
They're rolling along. You know, they made it through some injuries. Rupe Hintz is back now. I think they're, you know, I watch a team that has a hard time getting a lather on for the October and November because they play 4 rounds. Remember, Dallas has been to, well, have they not been to 3 Western Conference finals in a row?
3.
Yeah, so they're kind of the same team a little bit. I feel like it's hard to, you know, and I'm not blaming them. When you play that long and you play those important games, October and November aren't easy. You know, they're not easy. There's a really good team there. You know, there's just a really good team there. But
What? Yeah, it's early. I agree. It's early. What about Vancouver?
well, I mean, the biggest thing about Vancouver is they've settled their dressing room. They've got a functional environment. You know, they don't have a bunch of guys fighting with each other and sniping around and stuff. I'm not sure about how, you know, is Pedersen, even in a more quiet atmosphere, is Pedersen an $11.5 million leading player, a guy that's going to take you somewhere? He's got a lot to prove on that front. And Thatcher Demko is going to start tonight. There was some fear that he was injured. You know, Thatcher Demko is an unbelievably good goalie in the
I agree.
same vein as Mika Kiprusoff. He doesn't have a great team in front of him there, but he could single-handedly get them to the playoffs. That's how good a netminder is if he stays off the trainer's table.
Yeah, no, we're on the same page there. His mother, by the way, was a phenomenal athlete. She was a
Oh, is that right?
world-class volley. Yeah, she was a world-class volleyball player, like a super elite athlete. The mom was back in her day. One more. New York Rangers. What's the Western perception of the New York Rangers after they came through the West and steamrolled almost everybody?
They did. How can you be this good on the road and that weak at home? You know, I was in New York for a game earlier this year, and I loved their game. Edmonton beat them like 2-0, and they had no business winning.
Right.
I thought Mika Zibanejad looked great, except for the finish. He had chances. He had 3 high-quality chances. He didn't hit the net one time. And I thought, that's not the Mika Zibanejad I know. You know, I have a high respect for that player. People in New York tell me that's kind of the guy he's become. He's not what he used to be. So I guess I'm going to tell you, Mika Zibanejad needs to be one of their best players, like maybe their best player. Panarin comes and goes. There's an immense amount of skill with Panarin. Zibanejad's a more consistent player and a guy I can count on more than Panarin. So I guess I'm telling you, to me, they got a lot of things going on there, but the Rangers go as Mika Zibanejad goes. And if his game gets picked up here, if he finds his game again, I like him. If he doesn't, they're not going to get enough goals.
Mark, you always tell us a lot, and it's so enlightening. Thank you so much for your time. No, it really makes a big difference on the show. Really appreciate you coming on. Thank you, Mark.
All right, Pierre, love talking to you, man. Take care, buddy.
Take care. See you later. That was a great Mark Spector. Does an awesome job covering the Edmonton Oilers and all things hockey out there in the West. I agree with a lot of what he said, and the biggest thing that I can tell you right now, when you look at the Edmonton Oilers and you really watch them play, they are looking for an identity because they're getting carried by 2 guys right now. Draisaitl and McDavid are carrying that team. They need more from a lot of other guys, and that defense has to get better. And if it doesn't get better, they're not going to have a very long life in the National Hockey League playoffs coming up this spring. I can tell you right now, they're just not. They got to get better in so many different facets of the game. And I've never been trusting of the goaltending situation there. Mark alluded to that, and I think that's something that's going to have to be dealt with over time. Shane, can you put some of the commercials that I have to read and the spots I have to read up so we can get to that, and then we can get to the questions from our great viewers and listeners? So I don't know if I have them, Shane. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, I do. Thank you, Shane. Let's go to our newest one. Point S and GT Radical are offering, or Radio, excuse me, are offering you the chance to win a new set of GT Radio winter tires, plus free installation at a Point S garage, a total of value of $1,000. In order to participate, go to the Sick Podcast Instagram page and like and comment on the pinned post. Follow the Sick Podcast and Point S on Instagram contest. It ends November the 16th. Point S, your trusted garage for complete vehicle care. That's my mother, everybody. So if you can see her in the background. Okay, thank you. This is great. It's live TV. It's unbelievable. Really, it's all good. Okay, there you go. She's looking for her knitting. Um, that was so good. Thanks, Mom. Appreciate it. Let's get to our other great sponsor, Vago Italian. It's been open for 23 years. Longevity. Not many restaurants are open that long. Private dining rooms for any occasion, birthdays, engagements, corporate meetings. You know, we even had a wake there. It's an unbelievable place. We celebrated Scotty Bowman's naming of an arena in Verdun at Vago. There's plenty of free parking after 6. I grew up in that neighborhood right around Green Avenue. It's open Monday to Saturday evenings and lunch on from Tuesday to Friday. I should know that without having to read it. I've been there so many times. There's fresh quality ingredients, the old world Italian classics and the new Italian. I love their chicken parmesan, love their Caesar salads. I love their pasta aglio olio. It's phenomenal. Come and see Tommaso, the most popular man in Westmount, and Angelo. Angelo is an awesome guy, and I've already been in touch with Angelo, getting ready to for Jimmy and I to do our show on Green Avenue on Thursday between 4 and 5 o'clock. So we're looking forward to that. And thank you to Vago. And then finally, bet the beauties with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Ontario, and you got to be 18 years or older to play, and please play responsibly. If you're new or just coming on to the show, Jimmy Murphy, my longtime partner, almost 3 years now, isn't here today. He'll be back tomorrow. Just he had some things that he had to take care of personally, so we're looking forward to getting Jimmy back for tomorrow. But I'd love to get to your questions. And so, Shane, if you don't mind, let's throw the first question up there and get going. Pierre, you think Tyler Bertuzzi is one of the best net front guys in the league? Feel he doesn't get enough credit for his excellent wall play either, and Blashill gets the best out of him. That's from Simok Hockey Training. Thank you, Simok. I do think Bertuzzi is one of the best slot area players in the game. I always felt he was a really good board player because he wasn't the slickest skater, and he had to find a way to survive in the league. He's really, really good at his hand-eye coordination too. There's a little bit of Thomas Holmstrom in him, who the great board player and the great slot player for the Detroit Red Wings. There's a little bit of Patrick Hornquist in him, the great player from Nashville and Pittsburgh and at the end, Florida. So I see a lot of similarities. I think it's a really good point, and it's a great observation by you, Simok. Pierre, this is from Frank 01991-Z4C. Good handle, Frank. Pierre, he arguably had a strong game yesterday, but I'm not a fan of Wallman's contract. Add to that Bouchard and Nurse's contracts, and it seems to offset McDonald and McDavid's discount he took very quickly. I would agree with all of that. Jake Wallman did score yesterday, which was important for them. Darnell Nurse has not played well. Evan Bouchard, you just heard Mark Spector say, has not played well. So they got some issues there. There's no question about it, Frank, that they got some issues in Edmonton, and they're going to have to sort it out pretty quick because they're starting to lose track of where they need to be in the standings. Next. The Lash 55. Gents, you've spoken previously about the goaltending in Edmonton. How come they're not looking to call up Ingram? Is it a cap issue? He may not fix everything, but it is worth a shot. I'm not sure that they have Connor Ingram as one of their go-to guys. I understand that he's playing down in Bakersfield right now. I think they're trying to go bigger game hunting. You heard Mark talk about it. A tandem of Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard is not exactly a great tandem. So I think that's something they're going to have to look at. I would say that's something that, as much as people want Connor Ingram to do well, and I would love to see him do well, I think that they'd like to go bigger game hunting than that, I think, in Edmonton. Juice_-UX8KY. Pierre, during your time broadcasting the World Juniors, which was the best Canadian team that didn't win a gold medal? Well, they lost in 2003 in Halifax. They got to the gold medal. They lost in 2004 in Helsinki. That was really the team that set up the '05 team, which is the best team ever from Canada. They lost the gold medal game in 2010 to John Carlson and the Americans, and they lost the gold medal game in 2011 in Buffalo. That was the nuclear meltdown by Team Canada in the third period, and it was a domination of Panarin, Tarasenko, and Kuznetsov. That line for the Russians crushed the Canadians. Which was the best? I would say the '04 team was probably the best. You look, that was the 16-year-old Sidney Crosby. It was a Marc-Andre Fleury in goal who had already played in the National Hockey League. It was amazingly deep defense led by Dion Phaneuf at that time. The forwards were Ryan Getzlaf and Mike Richards, and just an endless array of phenomenal talent for Team Canada. Brent Burns was playing defense for Team Canada on that team. It was an amazing array of players. So I'm going to say the '04 World Junior team is probably the best one I saw that did go to a gold medal game, and they lost it to the Americans. And that was the first time the Americans had ever won World Junior gold. Let's go to the next one. Randy, Kadri gone? I think he probably will be. I would be shocked if he's finishing the season in Calgary. It's unfortunate, but I think that they'd say they don't want to do a rebuild, but I think they realize they're going to have to move some players out to start picking up the pace of whatever they're trying to accomplish there in Calgary. Next question. Be right 33. I like that. Pierre, at what point do you think GMs realize they are sellers and buyers? Which teams do you think are at that point right now? Well, I think for some, just look in the West. Look at the goal differential for where Calgary is, where St. Louis is, and where Nashville is. Their goal differentials are all close to -20. They're not getting back in the race. It would not. It's just not going to happen. So I think they already know that they're in trouble. In the East, I wouldn't say anybody that really knows that, except if I were Buffalo right now, I'd look to be proactive on the trade market, trying to make my team a little bit better, to try to get a little bit more traction in the standing. So I think right around U.S. Thanksgiving, and we're almost 2 weeks away from that now, right around U.S. Thanksgiving is when I think teams will start to be more proactive with fixing their rosters if they think they have holes, or starting to rebuild. Like, I think, again, you look at those three teams in the West that I just talked about with Nashville, with St. Louis, and Calgary. All of them have terrible goal differentials. They're not going to switch anytime soon. And so because of that, that's why they're so low in the standings. I think all three of those teams will be proactive here, not too far down the road. Next, David Robinson, 3161. You mentioned the level of tension in Toronto, and as an outsider, it seems like there is tension every single year. When was the last year that the pot was at a simmer rather than a near boil up there? I would say 2002. I'm not kidding you. Pat Quinn was the coach. He had done a fantastic job with that team, 2002, 2000, all from that '02 probably to '06. I know we had the nuclear winter '04, '05, but if you were to look at it, I would say Toronto was probably in a real comfortable position. They had established leadership with Matt Sundin. They had real good defense. They had a power play that was led by Frankie Cabral. They had real good goaltending. Curtis was there, obviously. They had a lot. They had a lot of really good stuff in Toronto in those days, and it wasn't like a pot that was about to explode. But they've had a lot of pressure since, and I think it's because the fans are frustrated. They haven't gone to a Stanley Cup final since 1967. That's unbelievable when you think about it. Florida Panthers have won the Cup. Tampa Bay has won the Cup. Anaheim's won the Cup. Dallas has won the Cup. Start looking at all these non-traditional marketplaces. Carolina's won the Cup, that have won the Stanley Cup, or San Jose's gone to the final. Nashville's gone to the final. Non-traditional hockey markets that have. Vegas has won the Stanley Cup. LA's won 2 Stanley Cups. They're all non-traditional hockey markets. And Toronto hasn't even been to the final since 1967. Now you know why the pot's bubbling over. People want to go to the final. They want to be a relevant team, and they haven't been for a very long time. MDS 09M. Pierre, how important is it not to quit on your talent, i.e. Newhook, Doc, to see how they can perform long term? Well, it's really important if you believe in the players, and that's one of the things that some teams, sometimes the best trades are the ones you don't make, because you give guys a chance to fight through whatever's ailing them. We talked about a lot on the show with Kirby Doc He was an injured player. He needed to get healthy. It takes time to get healthy, and he's had numerous injuries in back to back to back years. It's really been tough for him, but now he's starting to find his way. The whole thing with Newhook, and we talked about this a lot, Jimmy and I, was making sure that Newhook was not playing center and that he was playing wing. And you can see he's so much better as a winger than a centerman. He looks so much more comfortable as a player. So I would say that it's really important to stick by your guys, especially if you trust and you believe in your pro scouts in particular and the development process of your NHL coaches making players better. And I think Montreal's doing that right now. I really do. Ethan Russell, good to hear from you, Ethan. 5512. Is it just me, or should a guy like Dakota Joshua challenge the door off tonight? They need something to get them going tonight. I think you're going to see more than just Bobby McMahon go after Zadorov. Takes a lot of courage to do that, but I would imagine that tonight's going to, if Toronto has any chance of winning in Boston tonight, they're going to be a physical team and they're going to play a real hard road game. I've seen Toronto go into Boston numerous times, especially in the last year and a bit, where they've gone in and they've looked really comfortable as a group. And I think that'll be interesting to watch how they play tonight. I'll be watching that, just like I'll be watching Montreal and LA and watching Dallas and Ottawa. So, yep, I like that a lot. Renaissance Resistor 4934. Does Columbus ever entertain training Fantilli? I would be shocked. I can't see that happening. That would be one of those trades where, like one of the previous questioners asked, would you be loyal to the player? He's that kid's going to be so good for so long. I know people are comparing him to Leo Carlson right now. Well, last year he was better than Leo. This year Leo's better than him. Well, we'll see. It's still early. And Leo was picked one spot ahead of Adam Fantilli back a few years ago in the draft. So I think that Fantilli's a Columbus Blue Jacket for a very long time. I'd be surprised if they traded him Renaissance Resistor. I'd be very surprised. Jared Rushnell for Pierre from Belleville, Ontario. What do you think still needs to happen for the Canadiens to take the next big step toward being a legitimate Stanley Cup contender? First of all, Belleville is one of my favorite places to go. I loved my time there. I just took a train right past Belleville this morning through the snow and the fog. I think the Canadiens really could use one more forward that could score, like a really good scoring forward. And if they could get a second line center, which I know a lot of people say, well, Pierre, what about Oliver Captain? Oliver Captain's been great. I'm just talking about playoff hockey. I haven't seen that from him yet, so I'd want to insure my hand on that. But I think if they could add one more scoring forward for Montreal, I think it'd be great. They might have the answer in house. Who knows? It might be Jared Davidson, who's ripping it up in the American Hockey League right now with Laval. But again, you want to have kind of the insurance package so that you're protected when you get to the playoffs. But I'm really impressed by the Montreal Canadiens organization. I'm really impressed by the coaching staff, and I'm really impressed by the pro scouts. And obviously, Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes have done a magnificent job there. They've done just amazing work, tremendous work, because they didn't inherit a very good situation, and they've turned it into a great situation. Next question. Puck battle. Do you think Hockey Canada feels any pressure to take CHL players over NCAA players to give the CHL a boost? They always have. They always have. I remember years where there were tremendous college hockey players that were available to Team Canada, and they chose not to go down that road and take a major junior player. This might be a little bit different now because of the new rule where CHL players are allowed to be eligible to play college hockey. So we'll see. This is the first year of it. But I know in previous years, Hockey Canada has always utilized that card to keep kids to play in the Canadian Hockey League, which, by the way, is a tremendous league. It really is. But I think people are finding out now just how good college hockey is in the United States as well. Next. John Palmieri, 6588. Hi, Pierre. Former NHLer Brian Boyle, excuse me, I want to do this right because it's Brian. Former NHLer Brian Boyle made the argument that he'd like to see Lafreniere evolve more into a net front guy as he's got good hands, good size. Any chance this type of transition can help? Absolutely. I absolutely think it could help. I think Brian made a really good point there, but you got to encourage the player to get there. It's easy to say, it's harder to do. I'd like to see him utilize his size a little bit more. That was part of why he was such an intriguing prospect back in the day, because he was big, he could really skate. If you remember the World Junior that he played in, he knew the difference between pain and injury because he got hurt pretty significantly, but he came back and played for Team Canada. And I think the biggest thing with him is, for whatever reason, he hasn't been able to establish an identity for himself. And who knows, it could be because the Rangers have had Gerard Gallant, they've had Pete Laviolette, and now they've got, Mike Sullivan. They've had a lot of different coaches since he turned pro. So it's not easy. I think he had 3 coaches in 4 years. It's not an easy thing. 3 coaches in 5 years even. So it's not an easy thing. So we'll see. But I do think Brian Boyle might raise a really good point there. Next, Ethan Russell back again. If you are a GM, would you rather pursue Kadri or Zacha? Who would cost more to get? It's interesting because Naz is older, obviously. Zacha's bigger. Naz has won the Stanley Cup. Zacha has not. It'd be an interesting one just because of the dollars and cents and the age. I think it would probably cost you more to get Zacha. Because I don't think Calgary would want to eat a lot of money on the Kadri situation. So that would be an interesting one to dissect. If you were to ask me who I'd prefer to have right now, just for a small sample size, and money wasn't part of it, just 2 equal players, I'd probably want to take Naz and Kadri right now, a little bit ahead of Zacha. But Zacha's had a really good start to the year in Boston, really good. Next, Mike Gaudette. Pierre, did you think that Bedard, Celebrini, and Leo Carlsson would be this good this early in their careers? I thought Celebrini would for sure. Bedard, I thought would be good. Carlsson, I wasn't sure. I was wait and see because of the way they were breaking him in. If you remember, they did a lot of load management with him, which was really cool because it was negotiated between the agent, Matt Cater, the general manager, Pat Verbeek, and at the time, the coach, Greg Cronin. So I think they did some really smart things with Leo, and eventually let him, see what he's right now. He's a pretty good player right now. He's a very good player right now, one of the best in the league right now. So I did think all 3 of them would be good. I really thought Celebrini would be great, and I said it. He was I'll say the same thing again. He was Jonathan Toews coming out of BU with a lot more offense than Jonathan. So that's a pretty high compliment, and he's turned out to be just that. The last 55. I don't want to stir the pot, but if Stamkos becomes available and the price is right, do you think Steven would play for his former teammate and current Hab, Marty St. Louis? I think he'd play great for him. I know the last time Nashville was in Montreal, Steven scored a goal, and that was, it's been a very difficult transition for him to go from Tampa to Nashville. I think he's put in the proper position with the right players, not only on the power play, but 5-on-5. I still think Steven can score. I know a lot of people don't think or don't agree with me, and they don't think that's possible, but I do think it's possible. I really do. So we'll see. I think it'd be great. I don't think you're stirring the pot either. I think there are a lot of people kind of looking at that right now. What would it cost to get him out of Nashville? That's the interesting thing, and I don't know. I don't know right now. Juice _-UX8KY. Pierre, thoughts on the Laval Rockets so far this season? They're one of the best teams in the American Hockey League. They're really good. They've got depth in goal. They've got really good mobility on defense. They move the puck. They're well coached by Pascal Vincent. Talked about Jared Davidson before. He's shredding the league offensively right now. It's been really good. There's a lot to like there. A lot to like. I watch a lot of East Coast League games. I watch a lot of American League games, and of all the teams below the National Hockey League, Laval's as good as anybody right now. They really are. They're doing a great job there. Simok. Pierre, when is the national media going to take the Hawks as serious wild card contender? After Thanksgiving, if they're in a playoff spot, I would say yes, number one. And number 2, a lot of that scheduling is done before the season started. Now, when I was at NBC, Sam Flood created the flex schedule for the NHL, and we were able to flex out of some games and flex into some others. I don't know what the agreement is for ESPN, and I don't know what the agreement is for Turner in terms of flexing, but I know at NBC we had the ability to flex out of games. I think we had to give a 20-day notice or a 25-day notice. I just forget the exact amount of days we had to give the notice on. But I think Chicago's doing a great job. It was great to see Oliver Moore get his first goal the other day. I watched him play in the American Hockey League in Rockford, and he's got all kinds of speed and talent. I watched him play this summer in the rookie tournament between St. Louis and Minnesota. He looked really good there. So, no, they got a lot of good stuff going on in Chicago. A lot of good stuff going on. Well, that's it. According to producer Shane, it's 5 o'clock on the button. Shane, thank you so much for all that you've done. I can't thank Mark Spector enough. He did a fantastic job breaking down the Edmonton Oilers and also breaking down most of the Western Conference for us. I thought it was really enlightening. And thank you to all our great listeners and viewers and questioners. I love that part of the show, and I'm really grateful. And thank you for allowing me to have my mother come in and just be part of the show. That was pretty cool. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And Jimmy and I look forward to talking with you tomorrow on another edition of the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.